Canadians, like from this tall, start already learning high and line. Okay? So we've got all at least 20 years, we're 20 years behind, but we can catch up, okay? And we're going to start right now, all right? So this is what I want to, so I'd like everybody to go to this handout and start writing how would you introduce yourself, all right? Now, be very, very careful. How you introduce yourself is critical. What I mean by that is what words you use to describe yourself is critical. Let me give you a concrete example. I worked with a guy from India and he introduced himself as I'm an architect. And everybody he was networking with told him you're not an architect. And he was getting very frustrated. And eventually somebody told him, well, you're not an architect because you did not design individual buildings. That's what an architect does in Canada. You design subdivisions. So you are an urban planner, okay? So the words you use to describe yourself are critical. And I know that the general tendency of every immigrant at that point is to try to say, I can do everything. But if you can do everything, the average Canadian hears, you can't do anything well. You're a jack of all trades, master of none. So you need to be a specialist. Okay, so let's take 3 minutes right now. And after that, we will start the networking event. And I want everybody to practice introducing themselves using this template. Okay? So, 3 minutes. All rise, as they say in church. And now I want everybody to go introduce themselves to people they don't know. Don't introduce yourself to somebody you came with at the conference. Okay? You have to introduce yourself to people you don't know. If you don't know the person next to you, go right ahead. Okay? So every minute, I will click in the glasses. That will be the signal. It's time to introduce yourself to someone else. How many people did you meet? 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, around that? Okay, 4, 5? Oh wow, wonderful. Okay. How do you feel about this exercise? Good? Very good. You did okay? Wonderful. Okay? For those of you who feel comfortable, this is the way you're going to get a job. For many, many people in Canada. Now, not here. Okay? Here, who are you meeting? Other job seekers. Now, I'm not suggesting you immediately leave the conference. That's not the point. What I am suggesting is you need to do exactly the same thing, but at a conference where the other people have jobs. Guess what kind of conferences that is? Professional Association conferences. So, ONIA conference, CSCHE conference, OSPE conference, PO conference, and so on. There's OSET conferences, okay? There are tons of conferences in Canada, and Canada is a land of specialists, so there's an association for absolutely everything, okay? I learned that when I worked with a guy from Burundi. He was a coastal engineer, and there is an association of coastal engineers, okay? Probably many of you have no idea what a coastal engineer does. Neither did I before I met him. Okay, but that's it besides the point. So what does that mean? You need to find the association that is relevant to you and go there. Don't just join, go there. Okay? So, whose speech do you remember most and why? Have you noticed what we remember the most is people who have been able to describe what they've done in a very short amount of time. They've done something really good, and they give you numbers. It's specifics that really helps. So I will encourage you to be specific in what you've been able to accomplish. That is what people will remember. Okay? All right. So what did you learn from this exercise? Anyone? Yeah? You don't know how to present yourself. Okay, so what does that mean? What are you going to do next?
Well, I have to build and work with this.
Exactly. You've got to work on this, okay? And if you join one of these bridging programs that Jose has discussed, these are the kinds of things you're going to learn, okay? You don't need to learn on the technical side. I mean, sometimes you do, but most of the time, in my experience, that's not the issue. As Lee said, the real issue is not what you've done. It's communicating what you've done back home, okay? So you need to be able to do that in 30 seconds, okay? It's called elevator pitch because by the time you join someone in an elevator, when you get to your destination, they know what you've done, okay? That's why it's called elevator pitch. And it's essential. I've been self-employed for 16 years, okay? What that means is I have to continuously network to get new projects. And this is what I do at conferences. Okay, yesterday I was in Calgary at the Human Resources Institute of Alberta conference, and I networked, and I used that. Okay, so remember, that's the way it's going to work, all right? This is one skill. And I will make that offer to everyone. If you see me in the conference and you want to practice your elevator pitch with me, don't hesitate. I'll give you feedback. Some of you may not like the feedback I give you, but I will give you feedback, okay?
When I was speaking, it was, Canadian experience. Ask the question, try to understand why they're asking you that question of, do you have the Canadian experience with that? What is the skill set they're trying to learn about? And can you relate to that, to your past experience?
Great, thanks. So let's do one more question and then we're going to take a break and move into something else. This is more of the higher level question, and it's about immigration and immigration policy as it relates to employer requirements. So I don't know who should respond to this one, but it's a pretty interesting perspective. Is the immigration program marketed by the government out of sync with employer requirements? How do employers input or see the results of the immigration policy and what ends up happening with so many skilled newcomers here? So how do those two things align, Rakesh?
I can start because I also wear the hat serving on the board of National Engineers Canada. We do have a gap, Mark. That's a very valid question. I was immigrating to Canada, and in embassy I was told that, oh, that's a great profession, engineering, civil engineering. And you will have, this work, you need to find a work, and that's I understood. But there's not too much information was given to the candidate, and that continues. We had lots of improvements. A couple of years ago, Minister of Immigration came down to IEP Conference, I remember, and he spoke, and I personally asked that question to him about that gap. So there lots of work has been done, it's improved. So they're conveying that real message that you are an engineer. It won't be the same in Ontario and same in Nova Scotia. It will be different, but you are immigrating to Canada. We need to find out if you are going to Ontario, please look at that, what is the requirement in Ontario, and vice versa. So there's some work done, but there is still a gap. People have hope that I'm an engineer here, and as soon as I arrive in Canada, I will be able to start working. So the regulated profession, about 38 in Ontario, which are regulated, you are not able to work fully as an engineer without having PNG license, or so on in other professions, needs to be communicated to immigration policy. And the second point, very quickly, about half of engineers, immigrant engineers to Canada come to Ontario and GTA. So that also balances demand versus supply. That goes to other earlier questions. Would you be able to move if the opportunity arises? So I'll leave up to that. But yes, there's a gap, improvements being done, but lots of work to be done as well.
Great. Anybody else with an angle on that? Or we're going to move into our practice. Okay, so let's break up the afternoon here with a little bit of a demonstration that Jody has volunteered to work with me on. Our idea here is to do a very brief demonstration of a business conversation at an event like this, and then ask you to try and do that with at least 2 or 3 other people in the room here. So it's building on what we did this morning when Lionel led us in the elevator speech exercise. So, Jody and I have not practiced this. We discussed it briefly. We may not win an Academy Award for our performance here, but the idea is to try and just demonstrate a simple, short business conversation that two people might have, especially if one of them is a job seeker and one of them is an employer. So I'll play the role of job seeker. Jody is going to play the role of employer, and we're going to do our best in a minute or two to demonstrate a little bit of a conversation. Think about what you're observing. You know, if we do anything that's good, try and do what we've done. If we do anything terrible, try and fix our mistakes when you do it yourselves. So, Jody, are you ready for this?
Yes.
Oh.
Let's do it.
You know what, see if you can take that mic.
Hello.
Here, my cable doesn't go very far, so you've got to come and stand by me over here.
Okay.
Very nice to meet you. Jody, I see your name tag there. Good to meet you.
Yes, Mark, great to meet you as well. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm having a great day. I've been really enjoying the conference. I really liked the keynote speech this morning. How about you? How are you finding the day?
Yeah, I found the afternoon session to be extremely helpful. Learned a lot today. How about you? Like, what has sort of been some stuff that you've learned today that you think you can implement into your career search?
Well, it was one of those points that the guy in the morning was talking about. I really liked how he was talking about think 2 steps ahead.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think 2 steps ahead in my own career. You know, I'm an industrial engineer. I have some pretty good experience in manufacturing systems. I've been implementing them in my home country in a number of industrial areas, from process engineering to discrete engineering and manufacturing. I'm really trying to figure out how best to apply my skills here in Canada. Jody, you're an employer. What's your best advice for me to really get in there and move my career forward here?
Yeah, Mark, I think that's a great valid point. You know, you're looking to plan ahead, and you know what we've been talking about today is what I've been hearing is create a plan of where you're going to head and what you need to do to get there. So sort of take a look at where you are right now. Understand what transferable skill sets that you maybe have to the plan that you have in place, and go and start to research into the companies and the websites that you can get your name out there. Get a network, maybe join LinkedIn, and find the managers that are, or the companies that you're trying to target into and that you're looking to move forward with. The different associations like the Ontario Professional Engineering Association, and start to connect with individuals like that. If you can get out and meet with more people and discuss and actually do role plays and get to know each other and learn about what's been successful for them, then maybe you can pick up on those things too and use that the next time you interview.
Great advice. Thanks so much for sharing that. Do you know anybody, Jody? I'm in industrial engineering, manufacturing systems. Is there anybody in your network that you could connect me with?
Absolutely, I do. I have a gentleman, his name's Christopher Fickle. He works for an engineering placement company. I would suggest you get in touch with him, sit down with him, and talk about the pros and cons that you have right now that you're in your search and where you want to go. Maybe you can do an interview role play with him and get some feedback on things that you do well and maybe that you can improve on as well.
Great, and do you have a card for you or for this other guy that you just mentioned?
I do, yeah. I have my card and Chris's card.
All right, so let me give you my card as well. And would it be okay for me to follow up with you in a week or two just to check in?
That would be great, yeah. And if you have a LinkedIn profile, add me to LinkedIn and we can see if we can connect in the future as well.
That's great. Thanks so much, Jody. Really nice to meet you.
And you have a good day.
Yeah, thanks to the Academy for my award here. All right, I don't know if that was good or bad, but we wanted to demonstrate a couple of things, right? So the meeting, you know, the eye contact, the shaking hands, the first meeting, the moment of meeting, you know, a smile on your face, good eye contact, you know, and then it was just something polite and easy to start the day, or start the conversation. And one of the best questions is, what did we say? How's your day going? I think it was, how's your day going? Great, how's yours going? So something very simple to start off. And then I like this question about advice, asking for advice, and using that word, advice, is a powerful word. Because when you ask somebody for advice, you're complimenting them indirectly. You're saying, gee, this guy knows something that I don't know, and I'm complimenting him on his knowledge by asking for advice. So it's a nice question to ask, and I'd encourage you to use that question. What advice can you give me given my situation? And I try to give, 10 seconds of my situation. So try that, ask for advice. I try to follow up with a contact question. Does he know anybody? Because that will be very helpful. And then finally, the business card, and that last little thing that was mentioned about LinkedIn. Even if you don't have a business card, being able to exchange a LinkedIn invitation. How many people in this room have a LinkedIn profile? So it's almost everybody. You can see, I think I've been asking this question the last couple of years I've been here. Most people do have that, so great. Even if you don't get their card, would it be okay for me to follow up with a LinkedIn invitation? And customize it. Don't just use the basic one, try and customize it. So what I'd like to do is give everybody a chance to give that a try. How long do you think that took? Was that 2-3 minutes? So let's do at least 2, if you can squeeze 3 in, great, but at least 2 new people who you haven't met, and try and have that brief business conversation. You can use what you learned from Lionel this morning and build on that elevator speech when you're about to ask for advice. So try it, see how it feels to use that word advice. So, hello, how's it going today? What advice do you have? Contact request, card request, thank you very much, right? Very quick, 3 or 4 minutes, meet 2, if not 3 people over the next, I don't know, let's see, it's 3:05. We have until 3:45 here, so let's say we take about 10 minutes for this exercise. We'll come back for more Q&A. I have lots of questions here still to ask our panelists, so let's take that little break, about 10 minutes, to meet 2, if not 3 people. Let's try it.
Than being in panel, it's a little bit personal for me. A few years back, I used to come as a participant, as you do, and I remember, and I totally understand and personally relates to your experience as all IEP, as I am. So I would like to take this message today, because first thing you did, you show up. Lots of things happens after showing up. You took the time, you came here, you listen to our experience, listen to other people's experience, and that is very, very important, because many of your colleagues have not done that. So maybe you can relay that message to as well. And other thing, do not be discouraged with some failures in the short term. I would take 1 step back to move 2 steps further. And I have spoken to many of you, and based on your skills, based on your high level of qualification, I have no doubt that you will be all successful. Thank you very much.
Great, Rakesh, thank you. Pauline.
Hi. If I only had to give one sort of last closing, I would say to continue to build those networks. As Irene said earlier about it's who you know, and it's who you know in the areas that you know. It's continuing to build those networks. You really got to focus on whether it's, like I said, connections through social media, connections through networking groups. There are different networking groups. We've heard about different social groups that you can look up and be part of. If you belong to the association, through membership, you hear of different events and stuff. So the more you go, you continue to build your network. And chances are somebody in your network, I mean, look at how many of you there are, and if each of you had a network of 5 people, in there somewhere has to be a group of people that can help, whether it's this job or the next job, or can introduce you to somebody else who has the next job. So continue to build those networks.
Great, thank you, Pauline. And Jody.
First, I'd just like to say, I'm very humbled to meet all of you. You guys have all done an absolutely amazing thing. You've moved from another part of this world and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. So my hat's off to you all for taking that risk. And I just ask you to keep pushing the bar, keep putting yourself in that uncomfortable place and trying to develop your communication skills, your relationship building skills. I think everyone here can contest that you guys are, an excellent group of knowledge. You guys have the skills from a technical side. Now it's about communicating that, building a relationship, and being able to capitalize on it. So I hope you all walk away knowing that soft skills in Canada and the culture in Canada is very dependent on that. And I want you guys to all focus on that moving forward.
Great. So before I warmly thank our panel for their inspiring messages, a few things that I want to just wrap up, and then they can stick around for at least a few minutes to respond to your individual questions. So we're coming to the close of what I hope was a really inspiring conference with great speakers and truly inspiring panelists. And a couple of the things to keep in mind that I think we've heard here, there are clues all over the place. Places to look, things to do, people to meet. I like to think about it as watching for clues, and when the clue comes, you take that inspired action. Like Rakesh said, you came here today, you took some action, and you don't know what's going to come from that, and then you welcome opportunities. I find that there's a cycle when we work with our clients at Career Cycles. It's a lot about that, watching for clues, taking inspired action, and then welcoming the opportunities, and things come out of that. So, from that perspective, it's great that you came out here today. We would love to hear your feedback on this conference. So there is an evaluation form there. Just before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you to fill that out. There are a couple of prizes or things that you can win if you submit that. So we're going to do that right in the room here. I'll stay till about 4, and at 4 I'll pick up the microphone and I'll announce the winners. There's the Get the Job book by Pamela Patterson. There's a career and resume consultation that was donated by us at Career Cycles, and another career resume consultation donated by To Be Determined. She's another woman who's one of the participants hosting today, and a $25 gift card from OSFI. So if you fill out your evals, they were in your materials, and give them to our volunteers. I just want to give a good thank you and shout out to our volunteers, if we can give them a round of applause. Thank you. And a special mention to Jen Cohns from OSFI, who worked diligently with me to put the panel together and interview all the panelists. Jen, thank you so much for all of that good work. And finally, for this amazing panel, I've been doing this for a few years, and it always inspires me to hear what happens, but I think today you guys outdid yourselves. We have some new people and some people who've been here before. They've really tried to bring to you the best advice they possibly could to help you in your journeys. Let's give them a warm round of applause. That wraps it up, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'll look forward to getting the evaluations. If you have any questions for me or the panel, we're going to stick around. Let's take a moment to get away from the table so we can talk amongst ourselves here, and we can just